Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to start right away because I know this video is going to be so long if not. So the first question is, how do you find cheap flights? And some of you know that I did a whole vlog on it, but I'm going to tell you the main things to find a cheap flight. First of all, use Skyscanner because they have the whole month option. So you know that you can get holidays in June or like in December, but you can choose whichever day you want. So you'll simply check when it's cheaper to fly to the destination that you want to fly within that month. And they will tell you the cheapest days to fly in that month. It's so great, you don't even know. But you can choose no destination. So for example, let's say you don't care where you're going, you just want to leave the city because you're stressed. So what do I usually do is simply type London and put everywhere, and it will tell you when it's cheap, where is cheaper to fly to. So usually in Skyscanner, up in the corner, I will tell you that you're from UK. For example, if I'm flying Jakarta to Bali, I will say that I'm from Indonesia. That also helps if you're from the US, as US prices are extremely expensive. I don't get it. But if you say that you're from the UK or you're from Spain or you're from wherever, it's going to be cheaper. Then second question. How do you find cheap accommodation when traveling? So hostels are the key to traveling cheap and budgeting and everything. So how to find hostels? Just go on hostelworld.com and it will appear like hundreds and hundreds of hostels. My tip is to select the ones with the best rate and with the most reviews. So for example, there's one with a 10-point rate, which is amazing, but it only has 5 reviews. So you're like, maybe it's new, maybe I don't know. Choose the one that says, I don't know, 8.9 but 2,000 reviews, because that means that 2,000 people thought that was an excellent hostel. If you're traveling solo, I really don't recommend going to hotels because you're not going to meet people, but maybe once in a while you want to like feel fancy and just you need time for yourself. So just book yourself a hotel in booking.com, and if you are a member, it's free to get a membership. You'll have a discounted price. It's like 5-10% less. Then Airbnb is amazing if you want different experience. So I book Airbnb if I want to go to like a random town in Indonesia, or if there's a very cool house with like eco living and blah blah. If you're traveling with more than 2 people, actually, it's going to be much cheaper to get an Airbnb than hotel rooms or hostel beds. If it's the first time you're trying Airbnb, I'll leave the link below and you'll have a discount code so you can enjoy it for a cheaper price. Easy. The cheapest way is couch surfing. Why? Because it's free, completely free. It's not a lie, it's just free. As it's free, it can bring a lot of creeps. Only book couch surfing if the person has a lot of good reviews. Couch surfing is also an option. Ask friends. Literally just ask, like put it on your Instagram, put it on your Facebook. Just say, do I know someone in Portland? Can I stay with you? Do you mind? And if they accept, please bring a gift. Like, please. Be clean, be organized. Don't be a weird guest. Just, yeah, be cool. Third, what's your opinion on hostels? Okay, so many people have asked me that, and it's actually the best experience I've ever had, because more traveling solo. If you want to travel cheap, if you want to meet people, and you're traveling solo, or you don't really know much about the country, go to hostels. Honestly, it will change your life. You'll meet amazing people, usually backpackers, so they will have the same vibe as you. And you'll meet the most interesting people ever. Like, I met people that have been walking around the world for like 5 years, you know, or biking around Sri Lanka for like 3 months. I've also met my closest friends ever in hostels. I've gone to weddings around the world of people that I've met in hostels. The friend that I met in Bali is now coming to my house in London. Safety within hostels, I usually don't worry, because they have like your own locker, but don't be silly, don't leave your phone hanging around, or don't leave your stuff like open, visible. Read a few reviews before, just to know more or less if the hostel is cool, if it's not, blah blah. You get it. Question number 4. What are your packing essentials? I pack very extremely light, because I learned trip by trip what to bring, what to not. So the essentials for bringing are medicines, all kind of medicines, but essentials would be Band-Aid, disinfectant, ibuprofen, suero, I don't know the word in English, but I'll find it, I'll put it like right here, antihistaminics, and also bring Kleenex. And in many countries, you'll not have paper in the bathroom. I always travel with journal, and it's super cool. It has all my experiences. I put receipts of the hotels, I write, I put pictures, I put everything. And people write journals in different ways. I write it talking to future self. I write in order for me to remember how I think when I grow up. And so, once in a while I write something for like my kids or whatever. So yeah. And there's parts I say, do not read if you're not Elsa, because those are private. Always bring cash. Cash is very essential. There's many countries or cities or locations where you will not have ATM, a couple hundreds or like whatever is available to you. Hide it in very special places that you remember. So many times I hid money in places and after I don't remember at all, I'm like crying, I don't have money. And after I come back and it's inside of a sock or something, I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, some places you can hide your money is on your sunglasses, on pads if you're a woman, inside tampons. I've done that so many times. Not anymore because I'm sharing it with you and I don't want you to steal my money. Always bring a lock also to like close your backpack. Okay, I don't know the name of this one, but always bring that thing that you can hang on your back. Maybe your backpack is full of souvenirs or of like cool stuff from the market and you don't have space to put your
call contacts who have signed up for Alexa calling.
Oh, that scared me so much. So you don't have space for your shoes or you have like wet clothes or whatever. So you just literally tie the clothes or the shoes outside of the backpack. Every single thing that I bring, except my camera or my phone, I can give away at the end of the trip if I need. What not to pack. Don't pack anything that can get ruined if it gets dirty. I packed them once and I got so sad. These are meant to be white. No, not white, but like very light colored. I wouldn't pack these shoes because I would be so stressed if they got dirty. Also, don't overpack. As I said, I travel very, very light. I bring, for a month or two, I bring like 5 t-shirts and 2 leggings and that's it. Usually what I do is pack, then the next day I cut everything in half, and the next day I cut everything in half, and that's what I'm taking. You can do laundry everywhere, like in every single city there's a laundry place, and it's so cheap, or you can always do it like by yourself, you know, you can just wash with soap, that's it. 6. How do you plan for a trip? Very good question, actually. I don't plan. No, I actually plan a little bit. Depends on the country. Sometimes I don't plan at all. I don't even know the language that they speak. Which is not very cool. But lately I've been planning a lot for trips. What I do is that I read a lot of blogs about the country before going. Google like Bali blog, and that's it. Like Google that, or like Tokyo to do blog. Also what I do lately, this is the first trip that I'm doing it, so I'm very excited. Research about the culture of the country to understand it better, because sometimes you will be like, oh, I should have known this. But I don't really recommend buying guides when you can just Google everything. So what I do instead of planning is I book a hostel 2 days in the same place and I don't book anything else. Why? Because I know that in hostels you will realize that you want to go here, you will talk with people and they will recommend you there, or the hostel is terrible and you have to change it. So just book 2 days of the hostel. That's it. And after that you can book everything. How do you budget and manage expenses? I don't really budget, but I travel very cheap. For example, if you're running low on money, you can always eat in a supermarket. So like buy stuff in a supermarket instead of a restaurant. That would save you up so much money. Or for example, go to a local food market and just cook for the day. Many hostels have kitchens, so you can just cook. And always add flexibility for emergencies. There's always things happening that you would never expect. So always add that emergency budget. How do you save up for traveling? Prioritize your spending and don't get your nails done maybe, or don't get your eyebrows done. You know what you spend money on, so just reduce it. And I have so many friends that drink or take drugs or like smoke, and after they complain that they don't have money for traveling, and I'm like, you literally spend 50 pounds in one night out, and that's a whole flight to, I don't know, Barcelona. Have you ever regretted traveling solo? I've only regretted it once, and that was when I had a motorcycle accident in the Philippines. I was traveling solo. No one knew where I was because I was in this random island and my parents didn't know about it because I changed every day. While I was falling, I rolled down the hill for like 20 seconds. And I really thought I was going to die. My mom was like, why are you doing this? Why have you done this?
Scary being in this situation alone. First time I kind of regret traveling solo. I will still do it, obviously.
No, really, that's the only time I regretted it so much. Because like, after I ended up rolling, there was no one. Like, it was an empty road. There was no one. I really thought that I was like going to bleed out or whatever, because I was bleeding so much and I couldn't walk and I couldn't do anything. So in that moment, I really regretted traveling solo. How do you communicate with people if they don't speak English? I get that a lot, especially from my mom. It's very easy. You don't need to talk to people. People understand each other a lot by signs, or like pointing, or just having it written, or you know, it's not that hard really. And most people speak English a little bit. So what I usually do is the first days I just hear how people speak and all that, and I adapt my English to their language. Simplify the words. Don't use like very cool fancy words, because they're not going to understand it. I don't even understand them, so don't do that. Try to speak, if someone doesn't speak English or speaks very bad English, speak to them as if you were speaking to a 3-year-old. There's an app called Hostels, which is the same for the hostels, but they have a section under where there's like lips, and you can voice translate conversations and everything to like many languages. That's helped me a lot in Indonesia to understand the people better. Also, download Google Translate dictionary of the country that you're going to, the language that you're going to be in. Sometimes you can just like hold an image and it will translate you through the image. So that helped me a lot to know if something is vegan or it's not. Yeah, mostly that. Yeah. I'm going to talk about staying safe while traveling. The most essential thing is don't do anything you wouldn't do in your country. Some people really think that when they're traveling they have infinite lives, like a video game. That doesn't happen. Like, if you wouldn't jump from a balcony in your own country, don't do it in Thailand. Honestly, like, I don't get that. So yeah, respect the place you're in. So be very friendly. Be extremely friendly. So friendly that you look stupid. You know? Always say thank you so much. Always say, but at the same time, with confidence. Yeah. Learning about the culture is very important, just to know what to expect. So that'll be very important in countries like Japan, because respect is very important in their country. Also in India, you can never prepare for India, but you can understand better what can happen to you. Maybe you will have to adapt to the way they dress. That happens mostly in Middle East. I know it's very open right now and it's not as closed as it was a few years ago, but if you don't feel safe, just look like other people look. So maybe wear a scarf, or like get covered, don't show much. And I'm a feminist as you can get, but sometimes you have to like sacrifice that to feel safe. So be respectful, because for example in some Asian countries, for getting into temples and things like that, you will have to cover. So just always bring a scarf with you. If you're still feeling unsafe, there's a safety alarm on Amazon. It's not more than 8 or 10 pounds, which literally, if you take it out, if you disconnect it, a very, very loud sound starts playing. So maybe that's something you can use. How to act if something happens. If possible, call the police. If you're being harassed, or if you're being scammed, or if someone touched you or something like that, scream in your language. I always do that, and people I travel with, they know that I scream in my language all the time. You don't know how much people, like how scared people get when you start screaming in Spanish, you know, but scream aggressively. Like, don't be, no, stop. No, just scream, you know. Like, someone also asked if it's safe to wander around at night, not only to like go partying and all that, but just to go maybe like grocery shopping at night. And it depends a lot in the country or in the city that you're in. But if you don't feel completely safe, just ask someone to go with you, because people will accept. If you don't know if the place is safe or not, just ask the hostel reception or ask someone. Like when I was in Colombia, I was in this beautiful, beautiful island called San Andres, which I would really recommend if you're in Colombia. I was going out with my friend for dinner, and they were like, no, don't leave. So after 8 p.m. you couldn't leave the hotel because it was dangerous for tourists. So people will just tell. Now it's time to talk about traveling solo as a woman. I've never had like major problems about being a woman while traveling solo. Mostly it's just sexism, like good old sexism. Most common question I would get is like, do you have a husband? Are you married? Or like, how are you traveling? Where's your husband? Things like that. And I really, really, really recommend saying that yes, you're married. Yes. I don't know why some cultures respect more married women than non-married women, because they actually respect the husband and not you. And one thing that I do, and it doesn't cost anything, is just bring a ring with you. Also, use your own mind. Don't be silly. Don't go with locals to their house. How do you meet people while traveling? I meet people randomly, like so random. Everyone is alone, everyone is backpacking, so everyone wants to make friends. But be brave. As I said, everyone's in the same situation as you, so don't be shy. about talking to don't be shy about talking to someone in a hostel. Approach them. Where you're from, how long have you been here, want to go to breakfast, do you have any tips on where to go next, do you ever get lonely? I get lonely all the time. I learned to embrace that loneliness. However, you will never be alone. There's other travelers in that same hostel, so you will never actually be alone. So it's your own fault feeling lonely. And if you miss home, just FaceTime your parents or your friends or something. Keep in contact with them, that's okay. Sometimes if you're traveling long-term especially, you will start getting used to traveling, so you will not appreciate it anymore. That happened to me last time I was in Bali in New Year's. I was like, my life sucks, which it doesn't. My life is pretty awesome. And I lost perspective of everything. So what I did is I got my journal and I started writing my year in perspective. So in January I did this, in February I did that, and I ended up like crying like, oh my god, my life is so amazing. And journaling when you feel lonely is very cool, because after a couple months you'll read back and you will actually see your growth. Street food, yay or nay? For me it's a maybe, but mostly nay, because I'm very picky with food. But totally go for it, as long as food poisoning pills. You have to be careful that the food hasn't been sitting there. Make them do it in front of you. Most people will do it. Also buy water bottles that are closed. I know it's terrible, the amount of plastic that is wasted. That's the most common way of getting food poisoning. And always ask for no ice on your drink. I love this one because it's one of my main problems. How do you take Insta-worthy pics while traveling solo? You can't. Just use tripods or like connect your camera, like a GoPro or like an action cam from Sony, to your phone. Ask random people, ask locals. If the local took a bad picture of you, wait until they're gone and ask someone else and ask someone else until you got a kind of good picture, and after you can edit it with your filters or whatever and it will look nice. Anyway, how do you avoid scams? What I do very often is pretend I'm calling the police. And I've done that in London, in Barcelona, I've done that in Indonesia, in the Philippines, everywhere. In Vietnam, oh my god, in Vietnam. Some hostels usually have a paper in the entrance saying, these are the typical scams in this city. So pretend to call the police. So when they tried to scam me in Bali about exchanging my money, I was like, oh, you don't want to give me my money back? Okay, I'm just calling the police. Hello, but be very serious. So I just call my friend or something on WhatsApp and I'm just like, police? Yeah, no, they're trying to scam me. I'm in this street in front of this hotel and no. And usually people will just give you the money and run away. But I wanted to add some extra points. There's a very common thing that happens, and is that people get their credit cards blocked. So before traveling, just call your bank and let them know that you're going to be in this and this country. Second, don't exchange money in your country. Exchange the money once you arrive to the destination. Also, 3, ATMs will charge you money for taking out money. So for example, in Thailand, I think it's like $5 or $6 every single time you use an ATM. Take all of your money at once. A SIM card, please. Like the first thing when you arrive to a country, stop and get a SIM card. In Indonesia, I think it's 10 euros for like 10 gigabytes for a month. Oh, please remember that some countries you are required to get a visa. I always forget about that. I always think my privileged Spanish passport doesn't require a visa. And countries like Myanmar, like China, like Vietnam, and I've had so many problems with that because I arrive in a country and they're like, where's your visa? And I'm like, what? And I cannot get in the country. To fly to some countries, you are required by law to have a return flight. I always forget about this, always. Indonesia is one of the countries, or at least a flight to another country. I usually get the cheapest flight to another country, the closest country, literally the cheapest one, and I never use it. I'll check if you get in the flight or not, but they will check your confirmation. How to make a bomb itinerary when traveling by yourself. Check blogs, plan your itinerary once in the country because you will understand better the situation of that country. Okay, this is it. More questions are always welcomed on my DMs on Instagram. I'm obviously not a travel agency, but I can give you some tips. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment something if you have something in mind. And don't forget to subscribe and support my channel.